What's going on, family? As I say in Texas, everything's chicken but the bone because my black butt is at home. I usually don't go live on my regular Facebook page, but I said, hey, you gotta switch it up sometimes. So, anyways, if you are tuning in, remember to subscribe to Larry's Anything Goes LLC on YouTube. Subscribe to Patterson L Properties LLC on YouTube. It's free. You know, especially if you call yourself a friend of mine, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you see my content, hit the like button, even if you don't watch the videos. You ain't no friend of mine if I don't see you liking any of my stuff. Anyways, so I've been meaning to talk about this for like a week now, so let's get it in. So one thing that is changing in today's world is, and it came to my attention, is less young people are consuming alcohol. I think it's a good thing. Less young people are even drinking sodas. I think it's a good thing. You know, people are trying to be way more health conscious. One thing I can definitely say when I go to the gym, and shout out to Gen Z, they are in their gym working out. They are taking supplements. They're taking vitamins. They are counting their calories. They are serious about being healthy and looking good all at the same time. But they're serious about it, you know, unlike other previous generations. So I get nothing but love and respect to that. So this article that, according to the Associated Press, Pepsi plans price cuts as demands its drinks and snacks slip. Basically, the demand for people drinking Pepsi and buying the Pepsi snacks have slipped because people become way more health conscious. So with that being said, you know, obviously with any company, if prices are not, if the demand for your product goes down, obviously there's two ways to try to get your product off the shelf. Sell, you know, obviously, well, three ways. People will do a simple sales pitch. We'll take 25% off, we'll take 15% off here and there for a limited amount of time. So you must take advantage of this deal. Or another way to look at it is that a company will go out of their way to say, you know what? Let's offer a different idea, variety, so we can get more people to purchase a new product and still keep customers and gain new customers all at the same time. Or we'll just keep everything the same as far as the product and the services and whatnot, but we will go all out of our way to say, you know what, we're just going to cut the prices permanently so that we can get more people to purchase our products or purchase our services, things of that nature. Obviously, the route that Pepsi has gone, they want to cut the prices for Lay's, Doritos, Cheetos, and Tostitos. I didn't even realize Pepsi owned those brands. So by reading this article, I learned something new. But anyways, they're trying to do this because 2025 they had a bad year. Because even me, I used to eat Cool Ranch Doritos on a regular basis, but once I saw how unhealthy eating those specific chips, I was just like, you know what, I'm cool on that. Because I'm trying to be, you know, live a healthier lifestyle and things of that nature. So shout out to everybody trying to do better. In the last couple of months, I've been going hardcore with the avocados, the almonds, the walnuts, all that good stuff. So, you know, try to be healthy and try to be better. Even though I was in Houston, I definitely acted a fool. So when I get in the gym tomorrow, I'm starting to burn some calories, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, article says for some consumers, low and middle income consumers, the biggest fraction they have today in our category is affordability. But that's in regards to life in general, period. Pepsi Company Chairman and CEO Ramon La Huerta said Thursday during a conference called with investors. So we have been testing multiple ways to give them affordability. Pepsi Company has leaned on prices and increases as the cost of packing ingredients and transportation rose, like everything else, because inflation is up, no matter what anybody says. In the fourth quarter, Pepsi Company hiked prices by 4.5% globally. Prices for Pepsi beverages rose 7.7% in North America, while prices for the company's snacks ticked up by 1%. Now, all at the end of the day, and this is not political, I'm just speaking economic facts. With inflation, with tariffs and things of that nature, people have had to hold on more of their pocketbooks. Case in point, I've never seen the airport so quiet in my life, the way that I saw the airport between Washington, D.C. and Houston, Texas. The hotels that I stayed at, because I stayed at two different hotels, are very quiet. People are not outside like that. Even the restaurants that I went to when I was in Texas, very quiet, even on a Saturday and a Sunday. So people are not, as they say, I'm outside. People are not really outside like that because the cost of everything has gone up tremendously. So people having to, specifically people's grocery bills have gone up. Only thing that's really gone down is the cost of gas and whatnot. But that means nothing because you have to put that towards insurance going up for your car, your house, taxes going up on your house. If you live in the Virginia area, personal property taxes will go up on your car and your boats, motorcycles as well. Then of course, everyday living expenses, power. Don't let a data center be near your house, and of course, then the price of your electric bill can go skyrocketing. So there was a time when people could go live in a rural town and be like, hey, my cost of living has gone down. Yeah, but your power bill is probably going to go up, 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 and whatnot. So these are just things to take into consideration. All right. Now, that has pumped. The article says that has pumped up revenue, including the most recent quarter. Pepsi Company says that its net revenue rose 5.6% to 29.3 billion in October of 2025, between October and December period. That was higher than the 28.9 billion Wall Street was expecting, according to the analysis polled by FactSet. But the price hikes have also weakened demand, and consumers have begun swapping out brands that are familiar with for cheaper versions or cutting back altogether. Because obviously with the prices going up, a lot of people, because the price is still going up on everything, a lot of people just say, well, I'll go with a cheaper brand. Case in point, me, even I barely ever eat chips, but when I do, I'll eat the Food Line brand instead of eating, like I said, it's been almost 2 years since I've eaten Doritos because it's very unhealthy for me. But then another reason is people, in regards to health reasons and price reasons, are like, well, what the heck am I doing this for? So anyways, so at the end of the day, volumes for Pepsi snacks like Doritos and Cheetos fell by 1% in the most recent quarter. North American beverages volumes dropped by 4%. Globally, Pepsi said beverage volumes rose 1%, while food volumes fell 2%. So the chairman LaGuardia said that Pepsi began testing price cuts in some markets in the second half of last year, 2025, and found that they helped boost sales. Volume returns is pretty good, and that's what the category needs. Pepsi said in December that it planned to cut prices and trim nearly 20% of its product earnings as part of a deal with activist investor Elliott Investment Management. Elliott Investment Management, which took $4 billion stake in Pepsi in September of 2025, has been prodding the company's board to make changes, saying Pepsi Company was being hurt by slowing growth and lower profits in its North American food and beverages. And it's at the end of the day, there's no real reason for me to go into this anymore. But I will say that the only way you're really ever going to get a corporation to listen to you is to stop purchasing their products and services. The only time corporations listen to anybody is when their pockets being affected, especially given the fact that CEOs have board members to answer to. So, chair members have people to answer to. So with that being said, it's like, hey, if the profits don't go up, because that's the American way, if we made $5 billion last year, we need to make $8 to $10 billion this year. That's the corporate way. That's capitalism in America. Love it or hate it, it is what it is. I'm not here to debate it. I'm just saying that it is what it is. Okay. So now we're going to, the heck is this? Because like I said, I'm not all night. Alright, what we got? Alright, and okay. Anyway, so last but not least, continue. Alright, last but definitely not least, a lot of chain restaurants have been going out of business, and this article came out as of this month, February 2026, February 2nd. And a lot of restaurant chains have completely gone out of business or they've cut back tremendously. Once again, it goes back to what I was saying about people not really being outside like that because it's expensive to be outside. And that's just one of those things. But anyways, the article's titled, Why Do America's Favorite Chain Restaurants Keep Closing? Experts Weigh In. All right, so many chain restaurants have experienced bankruptcy, multiple closures, and company buyouts in the last few years. Specifically, during the pandemic, a lot of restaurants, chains and mom and pop restaurants closed or had to cut down because of the state of the economy and a lot of shutdowns, things of that nature. Consumers are cooking more at home, which is actually a good thing, and seeking alternatives as fast food chains rose their prices all at the same time. Now, I can relate to this because, if you're from the South, specifically Texas, I know they have Whataburger in Arizona, and they have Whataburger in Mississippi, which I was surprised, and they might have it in Alabama. But definitely, Whataburger is a thing in Whataburger is definitely a thing in Texas. It's a the heck? It's a staple. Um, but yeah, definitely, it's definitely a thing. But at the end of the day, um, I for two sandwiches. So I had a Whataburger chicken and I had a Whataburger burger. All right, and yeah, I had a Whataburger chicken and I had a Whataburger burger and whatnot, and Um, it blew me because I paid $16 altogether for two sandwiches. So with that being said, I was just like, dang, the cost of fast food has really, really gone up. It tripped me out, but I'm just like, but they've been talking about this for the longest time. This is why people are cooking at home more because you're going to pay a lot when you go to the grocery store anyway. So what's the point of eating out? During the pandemic, it was so much cheaper to do DoorDash once a day and whatnot. But now, definitely don't try to do that as much because it's very costly. On the business side, when it comes to a lot of these chain restaurants, and inflationary pressures on ingredients, prices, and private equity acquisitions account for the grim fate of many of these chain restaurants. Chain restaurants have been riding the struggle bus lately, and if the last year was any indication, 2025, they're not getting off anytime soon. I mean, I remember seeing a bunch of Starbucks closed down, Outbacks closed down. I think TGI Fridays went out of business altogether because I can't remember the last time I seen one of them. The last time I actually had food from TGI Fridays was in Atlanta, and it was ridiculously terrible. So the quality of the food has gone down, the quality of the service has gone down, prices have gone up. So what's the point of even going to these places? That's my mindset. In the past few months alone, several beloved chains have shuttered dozens of locations, relaunched under new ownership, or just plain declared bankruptcy. The list looked at which restaurants are on the chopping block and tapped experts to find out why favorite spots are closing. Here's what they found. Current restaurant death tolls. Starbucks closed more than 450 locations last October 2025 and plans to close all 96 of its pickup only locations in 2026. Wow, I did not know that. Wendy's plans to close 200 to 350 underperforming restaurants in 2026 as part of its Project Fresh initiative. Didn't even realize that as well. But once again, as I was talking about earlier, a lot of young people, specifically Gen Zs, and even a lot of parents, specifically millennials in my generation, are doing their best to not only cut down spending, but they want to ensure that their kids have a well-balanced diet. And at the end of the day, fast food is trash. So it is what it is. Denny's announced at the beginning of December 2025 that it intended to close 150 locations before the end of 2025. Sprinkles abruptly closed all locations at the end of 2025, terminating all of its employees without notice. That sucks. And they say the economy is doing great. Long John Silver's closed over 150 restaurants in the last 3 years. Hooters filed for bankruptcy in 2025 and is now attempting to make a comeback with uncertain results. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of these places, like I said, the food sucks, the prices are terrible. A lot of times, customer service is terrible. But on some realness, what is the incentive for people to go there? One thing I liked when I was down in Houston, Texas, is that a lot of the restaurants and majority of the successful restaurants in Houston, Texas, are mom and pop based. So with that being said, they are the design of these restaurants give you they look like a nightclub when they're not, but they give you this allure that hey, at least come check this place out one time. There's authenticity involved, and this is not just in Texas. This is like a lot of other major cities and whatnot. But what I'm saying is, and then the upside, because I live in the DMV area, so in DC and New York is the worst cities in America to drive in because the parking usually sucks. Any other major city for the most part, even a place like Los Angeles and San Diego, California, the parking is pretty easy. Houston, Texas, parking is pretty easy. So if I can go to your establishment, get good food, decent prices, great customer service, and I can park right in the front without having to pay for it, it's gonna be easier to get butts in the seats and whatnot, and compared to other major cities like DC and New York. And then Hooters, I mean, that was a time when it was cool to be, I guess you could say, quote unquote, a male chauvinist to look at half naked women and hit on them without even worried about going to jail. But in today's world, young guys are not really trying to do that because, that's why this is the biggest generation, shout out Gen Z, that are not approaching women face to face. This is the first time in history, as far as the U.S. goes, that more and more young men are trying to court women online, not in person. And I get it because it's just a different generation, it's a different time. It's not for me to get it because I'm 43 years old. Outback Steakhouse abruptly closed 21 locations in November 2025. Early 2025, Red Robin announced that plans to close 70 locations over the next 5 years. Since then, they've shuttered 15 locations. Crazy, crazy, crazy. What else we got? Jack in the Box. Stupid advertisement. Let's get out of the way. Let's see if I can move this. Like that. But Jack in the Box is talking about closing a multitude of its locations, and obviously TGI Friday, they've gone out of their way. Like I said, basically they've gone out of existence, unfortunately, because I can't remember the last time I seen them. I think it was a couple of years ago. And there's no denying that these chain restaurants are struggling. But why? To get answers, the list went directly to the experts interviewing restaurant analysts specializing in both securities and consumer markets. And here's what they learned. There are multiple factors at play, but a huge factor is rising food costs. According to Sarah Senator, senior restaurant analyst for Bank of America, securities inflation ticked back up last year, especially for beef, creating thinner margins of profit for restaurants. This particularly affected any chain with a beefy, heavy menus, which includes every hamburger-based chain you can think of. Rising food costs, coupled with higher labor costs, higher interest rates, led by many restaurants to raise prices, according to Jim Sanderson, consumer research analyst for Restaurant Northeast Research. And this is what I've been talking about with the cost of everything going up, up, up. This is why a lot of these, on myself, I will spend $60 to have a decent meal and a drink or two at a restaurant. So imagine taking someone out on a date and whatnot. I'm not complaining about the price, no. But would I do that on a regular basis? Hell no. So that's why it's going to cut into their profit margins, because somebody will be like, okay, this is a one-time deal, not coming back. No shade against the owner, no shade against the restaurant and whatnot, or the workers and whatnot. But hey, just tossing out $80, $100 here and there for most everyday working people is just not going to work. It's not going to slide. So it's just one of those things, unfortunately. But it's interesting, because it says another possible factor is this private equity investment. Recently, there have been increasing cases of firms investing in chains, as the case of Sprinkles even buying up the majority stakes. However, according to Sanderson, many critics argue that these firms are financing enterprise growth without focusing on improving operations, because they lack expertise in the skill set, because they just look at their corporation, they're just looking to increase their profit margins, like I was talking about earlier. Is there anything wrong with that? No, because that's the American way, so it is what it is. This leads to locations that underperform and then they close. So whatever the biggest cause or causes are, one thing is certain: consumer demand plays a big role here. So if there's a chain you want to keep around, taking a few extra trips there and support wouldn't hurt. But the thing is, can you afford to keep it around? And most people cannot. So on that note, it is what it is. And it's like I said, a lot of these, because of, I think I'll talk about it another day, but it was another thing in regards to, I think I talked about that, younger people not drinking alcohol like they used to, because it's very unhealthy for you, number one. Then two, more and more people want to be able to have more energy, look better, have a better, healthier lifestyle, and go from there. So anyways, on that note, family, do the great three things: like, share, and subscribe. Have a great night. Make money moves so you can live. Looking forward to saying Spanish. Bienvenido a la vida. Welcome to the life.